And it came out that apparently Geno or maybe his reps wanted to talk to the Seahawks about his contract situation. And Dave and I were just talking about it going, man, that feels like kind of odd timing because he's coming off what many perceive to be a step back year. From his first year as a starter, he led the league in completion percentage, and he just surprised everybody with that season. And then the end of that season, he kind of tailed off. And then last season, it kind of kept it going, took a step back. And so it seems like an odd time to then go to the organization and say, hey, I need more money or I need more security. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like all the hold-in stuff either. Like at some point, like if you're gonna sit out. Make a statement. So there was a lot of the hold-in stuff with Ayuk, and that's what Jamar Chase is doing right now. And there's a point where like Zach Taylor or like a coach needs to say, dude, you're either in or you're out. Like if you're not gonna participate, you're just gonna stand around in your street clothes. Go home. I don't want you here. Like we're not gonna find you. Just go home. You know what? Like they're like it's you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. I'm with you on the Geno stuff. I understand if you outplay your contract, that you go to the organization and you say, hey man, I'd like more money. I would ask Geno and his reps this. Well, you didn't play well at the end of your first year, and last year you took a step back, so we'd like some of our money back. Would that make you happy? Would you be happy with that? Because if you outplay your contract, you deserve to go to the organization and say, man, I outplayed this contract. I want some money. Because when you underperform, I don't know about Dave, but I've been forced to take a pay cut.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I've seen that happen a ton. So, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So, they should have countered. Their counter should have been, yeah, we're not going to pay you more money, but I'll tell you what we will do. We're going to cut your pay because you haven't performed very well. So, and then you're saying, well, no, I mean, I was just exploratory. I'm good, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, but I mean, that's the world we live in, I suppose, in the NFL.
Just touching on the Niners a little bit, and with Brock Purdy, when he comes due, do you think Kyle Shanahan is going to say, I don't know what you think of Brock Purdy, and I wonder if Kyle Shanahan's going to be like, well, we'll just develop another player. Do you think he's that good when it comes time for him to sign the big boy contract? Do you think is he going to be highly sought after, or do you think he's one of these guys that is kind of a system guy? I tend to not think that, but what do you think?
I think the kid is exceptional, and he's one of those guys that really understands his strengths, but more importantly, probably really understands his weaknesses and what he's not good at. He'll be the first to tell you, I don't have an elite level arm talent or whatever. But I've never had elite level arm talent. And like his ability to process information, his ability to make a right decision, his ability to eliminate a receiver or a side and get to the opposite side, just off the look. I think he's exceptional. From the neck up, he's, one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and he's on time and he's accurate. So there's a big difference on what they can perform with Brock Purdy compared to what they've been able to perform with any other quarterback. He's that good, and I believe that Kyle will tell you he's that good. Brian Greasy will tell you he's that good. Like, that guy is that good. And I'm telling you, the other thing is, man, he's a competitive little cuss. He's a great kid, but, man, that kid competes. That kid is tough. That kid's earned the respect. And you know how this is, Dave, when you're a late round draft choice and you prove that you can play, you become everybody's favorite guy on the team. It's the first rounders that are suspect, or don't play really well that become pariahs. Like, nobody likes those guys. But when you're a late round draft choice and you prove that you can play and that you belong in this league, everybody loves you. And they love Brock Purdy, and rightfully so. I think he's a top flight quarterback in the league.
I think it's going to be interesting, Mark, the couple of games that they're going to have with both the Rams and the 49ers, because you got Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan that are pretty much I don't know. When you think of offensive genius, I guess if there is such a thing, I feel like both of those guys. And then, you've got Mike McDonald who's coming in with this defense. And man, I got to tell you, I don't know if you've seen any of the preseason stuff, but their defense is playing so fast. I mean, it's just night and day from last year. So I think that's going to be maybe one of the storylines in the NFL this year when you've got a guy who, I guess they don't tend to call the defensive guys geniuses, and I guess you would probably go along with that, Mark. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of the battle that you have going because those types of guys are really popular right now.
Yeah, I mean, I as I always say, football and genius are mutually exclusive events. Come on, we're all PE majors.
Yeah.
So, listen, I don't buy into the whole genius theory, but Mike McDonald, I haven't watched his stuff in Seattle, but I've watched a bunch of his Baltimore stuff.
Yeah.
And not only do they fly around, but unbelievably tied together. And very multiple in their blitz packages and how they get to coverages and, who's playing what and, inverting kind of coverages and getting guys in areas where you don't expect the dude to be, right? And so they do a really good job of disguising stuff. I was watching some Baltimore stuff where, a safety is the cover 2 safety, and he's on the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball, and still finding a way to get back there and take the corner route away, Dave. So it's just one of those things where everything is really, really tied together, which means to me, one is you got to have speed, you got to have athleticism, but you got to have really smart players, and then you have to have a coach who really can convey his message and have the players buy into what they're trying to do and why it's going to be successful. And I think that's one of the things that makes Kyle Shanahan so good. And you and I both played for Mike, but sitting in those offensive meetings where he would tell you, here's what we're going to do, here's why we're going to do it, and here's what it's going to do for us. And then here are the benefits to doing it this way. And he'd lay it all out, and you could see it. You could see, wow, okay, well, that makes sense. And then it would sell you on, well, let's do it this way. And then ultimately what would happen is we'd execute in a game, and, and exactly what he said was going to happen happened. And you're like, oh, gosh, you know what? That guy is brilliant. Like, he's 100% right. And the defense reacted exactly like we thought they were going to react. And, and it was like this chain of events. Well, that the coach said exactly what was going to transpire. And I think when you watch him, and I don't know him, I haven't met him, but when you watch their defense last year in Baltimore, it's evident to me that those guys bought into what they were getting coached. And when that happens, then you can really fly around. There's no confusion.